It's a warm, sunny afternoon in Hayward, California. Hundreds have gathered for a rather unique and rare event centered around one man's collection of rare fiberglass roadside attractions of the 1960s. The main attractions tower 20 feet above the crowds and are known as Muffler Men. They are some of the many varieties of giants made by the International Fiberglass Company from 1963 to 1972 as roadside attention getters to attract customers and get the family car to make a stop. Today their numbers have dwindled as they pass 50 years old, but their popularity has grown.
I think it's just the nostalgia factor, right? They've been around for decades. They're gigantic, which is certainly helpful, right? They stand out. People remember them. They remember them from their childhood. They symbolize part of America, like a bygone year.
It's the idea is that these are references or characters from pop culture, and they were scattered throughout the country. At one point, they used to be everywhere, but now they've disappeared, and luckily these people are collecting them up and creating this outdoor museum, if you will, of our history, of what our country used to look like in terms of all these cultural characters.
Just the fact that they're different, you know? It's like the world's largest ball of string. Why would you want to go see a ball of string? Because it's the world's largest.
Starting in the 1990s, interest in these long-lost roadside giants was rekindled, and now 20 years later, they are in high demand by collectors and have a large following. In the crowd today is Terry Nelson. He was a painter for International Fiberglass from 1968 to 1972 and has traveled here from Los Angeles to attend to the event.
We've finished most of these Paul Bunyans, Mortimer Snurds, Muffler Men, AKA. And we did the Santa Claus, cows, horses, did just about anything that they made there. It is surprising to see all the interest that people still have in these. Makes all that hard work well worth it.
Now, however, for the first time in over 40 years, new Muffler Men and parts for old ones are being made. For Bruce Kennedy, this event and the giants he has collected have been years in the making, and it all started with Hayward's local Muffler Man.
I'm Bruce Kennedy. I'm the owner of Bell Plastics in Hayward, California. We're custom plastic fabricators. We make strange things out of plastic for people. I remember the giant man on Mission Boulevard in Hayward when I was a kid driving by it, and it looked so big, and you know, I remembered it from the time I was 8 years old probably, and until I actually went out and bought them.
For many, Muffler Men represent a special time in their childhood, and they bring back the memories of growing up in a small town with one of these giants.
I remember when it was on Mission Boulevard when I was little, so, yeah, and then all of a sudden it was gone, and then I read in the paper that, you know, he had acquired it and put it over here, so, I don't know, it just makes me smile just to see him, you know, something from your childhood, you know.
When then I found out that they had moved it over here and fixed it, I had to come see and pay respects to Big Mike. I love these things. I think this is fantastic that this guy goes to all the trouble and expense to get these things, collect these things, and repair them and put them out here like a museum for the public. Isn't this wonderful? Otherwise it would all be lost.
We haven't seen Big Mike or Doggy Diner for years, so I was kind of surprised to go behind the gate, so to speak, to see what's going on here.
The nostalgia associated with the giants is one of the things that continues to make them a popular road trip stop. It's also a reason why they are sought after by collectors, many of whom have their own memories as a kid of these giants. This is Lloyd Prouty of Shelton, Washington. As a child in the 1960s, he remembers walking by the local Paul Bunyan every day on his way to school. 30 years later, Lloyd was able to locate and rescue the giant so he could be enjoyed once more by locals and visitors to Shelton.
He was in 13 pieces when I got him. I got him in 95. Yeah. So we figured, we can't let that happen, so we just got together and fixed him. Well, it's just been a fun project for me to donate my time and effort to do something like this. You know, it's just, that's what old people are supposed to do.
Like Lloyd, Bruce soon discovered that purchasing these giants was just the first step. The giants are over 50 years old, and the vast majority of them need restoration. Bruce quickly found that repairs on these relics of 1960s advertising were extensive.
I liked the one, and it got a lot of attention. So when the Cowboy came up for sale, I bought the Cowboy. But when I got them, even though they looked good and they were supposed to be in good shape, they both required huge amounts of money and effort to fix them. They're 40 to 50 years old on average, so they're, for the most part, completely fallen apart.
Bill oversees the restoration of Bruce's Giants and bringing these Giants back to life. To properly restore original figures, Bill uses state-of-the-art equipment and resources to do the job.
Bruce brought over a Muffler Man that was in bad shape, and what we did is we sanded it all the way down, get all those coats of old, who knows what kind of paint on there. We go back and patch the whole thing again. Then we paint the colors onto the part, spray it on, and from there it goes, when that's done, we go to the art department, and then they take it from there, highlight the buttons and airbrushing and make it look as nice as we can. And it should last another 15 years, 20 years with that paint job.
In addition to restoring his own Giants, Bruce also restores statues for his customers. Whether the statue is an original International Fiberglass or made by another company, nothing is beyond Bruce's restoring capability. Bell Plastics restores not only Muffler Men, but just about anything that was made out of fiberglass, no matter what the age, shape, or size.
If you have an old Muffler Man that's missing an arm or missing a hat or whatever, we have enough tooling here that we can reproduce the part and make that Muffler Man look brand new. You won't notice the difference between an old arm and a new. It'll look like the original, if not better.
Muffler Men weren't always so hard to find or in such poor condition. In fact, there was a time when they were easy to purchase, and fiberglass Giants were popping up all over the country. Around 1960, Bob Prewitt of Glendale, California, who specialized in making fiberglass animals, took an order for a large Paul Bunyan lumberjack. The first Muffler Man was created and ended up at the Lumberjack Cafe in Flagstaff, Arizona. The Giant was such a hit, the restaurant put his likeness on everything in their gift shop and even made miniature replicas of him. Shortly after, Bob sold some of his molds to a company called International Fiberglass that was owned and operated by a young man named Steve Dashew. Steve realized the enormous market for the Giants, while Bob had mostly concentrated on animal statues. Steve started selling the lumberjacks, but also modified the molds so he could make other versions. Soon, International Fiberglass was selling hundreds of cowboys, bunions, American Indians, golfers, pirates, and Alfred E. Newman-looking country bumpkins called snurds. They even made other Giants like the Uniroyal Tire Girl and a colossal serviceman for Texaco. The name of the game was to make the Giants customizable to the customer's needs, and it worked. The fiberglass roadside attractions era lasted about 10 years. The last Bunyan and Snurd were made in 1973. In the 1970s, owners started trying to figure out how to get rid of the Giants. Today, the problem for collectors and business owners is finding them.
You can, if you look and you spend a lot of time on it, and you can probably find one Giant statue a year for sale. Then to acquire it, you have to pay sometimes $20,000 for the statue. Then you have to have it taken down and you have to have it moved. And then when it gets there, you have to put it on another truck and send it to the repair place because it's not what you thought you were buying.
After spending a few years scouring the internet for Muffler Men for sale and spending lots of his own money on restoration, Bruce got an idea.
I went ahead and made molds off the original ones I had and started reproducing them. We have probably the largest collection of originals around. We have 2 Doggy Diner heads. We have an International Fiberglass Santa. We have Paul Bunyans, whatever you want to call them. We have a cowboy. We have a Uniroyal Girl, which was originally called Miss America. We have a Multimer Snurd, people call Alfred E. Newman and a lot of other names. Everyone we got when we repaired them, we made a set of molds for. So we have molds for the Paul Bunyan, we have the molds for the cowboy, we have the molds for the Mortimer Snerd, we have the molds for the Uniroyal girl. They're the same as the original. So you can put ours next to the original, and other than how they mount to the ground, you probably won't be able to tell them apart.
The original molds International Fiberglass used to make Muffler Men were discarded and destroyed long ago, leaving only the originals and no replacement parts. Now, however, for the first time in over 40 years, new Muffler Men and parts for old ones are being made. Bill oversees the production of new Muffler Men, all made from molds of Bruce's original collection.
So with Bruce from Bell Plastic, he's collecting all these parts, and he has so much love and interest for them. He wanted to start making the tooling off of the originals, and that's how we got it. We didn't resculpt them. We knocked the tooling off of the original Uniroyal Girl, Muffler Man. So those are all copies of the original. So now that we have the tooling to make the Nitwit and the Muffler Man and Paul Bunyan and a few other parts, we would take that mold, we prep it, we then take and brush in gel coat. We use a black gel coat, so when we shoot the fiberglass over the black, we can see there's no air bubbles left in there, where a lot of the originals had air bubbles on the parting lines and the gel coat chipped away and there's a bubble underneath. In this case, you won't have that. So we put the black gel coat, we shoot the fiberglass with a chopper gun in there, we then roll it out, we let it kick off in about 45 minutes. We then take a razor blade knife and trim the parting lines nice and clean. Once that whole process is done, we then take a fiberglass mixture with fiberglass strands added to it, and we glue it on both sides of the parting line. We then put the two halves together, clamp it so it's tight, and then we laminate glass on the inside to make it extra strong in the parting line. Once that's all done, we then let that dry overnight. We open it up, pop the arm out or the part out. From that stage, we take Bondo, automotive Bondo, Bondo the parting lines, go ahead and sand them, sand the whole head, scuff it all up so we get good adhesion. We then take a 2-part urethane primer, prime the part, then it goes to the art department, which then in turn airbrushes and puts the highlights on and tries to make it look beautiful.
One thing you want in a business is you want people to have a reason to stop, number one, and you want them to be in a good mood when they walk through the door. And a giant statue gives you both of those. It turns your place into a landmark, and people do stop and take pictures. I mean, if you have one, people notice you. If you had 4 gas stations on the same corner, the one with the Muffler Man is definitely going to be the one that people are going to pull in first.
What made International Fiberglass unique was that they would do anything the customer required. They would mix and match different versions of their giants to create exactly what the customer was looking for. If they didn't have a mold already, they would simply make one. Like International Fiberglass, Bruce offers a standard or complete customization to his customers.
You can get it with whatever options you want. If you want a putter in its hands, we can put a putter in its hands. If you want it to have a big hat or a mustache, you want it to have your company's logo, we put all that on there. And if you want it to be a pirate, we can make it a pirate. It doesn't matter to us. If you tell us what you want, we'll figure out a way to do it. It helps make them unique to where yours is yours. You know, it doesn't look like the one that's down the street. We match logos, and if you want the American flag on the shirt, we put American flag on the shirt, and it doesn't matter to us. We want to get you what you want.
Today, the cost of original Muffler Men has increased significantly as they regain their popularity. Bruce's goal is to create new giants that are cost-effective and save on time and money spent on restoration.
The cost of the statues used are going up every year, and they're getting very expensive. We're making a brand new one. You can pick the color you paint. You can put your logos on it. You can have the hat that you want. You get it, and it's figured on a 50-year lifespan. The things we do with fiberglass now compared to 50 years ago, it's not in the same class. We have ways of seaming them that are better. The parts are just better. There's no comparison. They're stronger, they're lighter, they're better made. It's a lot faster than going and finding one and fixing it and then having it repaired and returned to you. To me, it's nice to have a history on it, but it's also nicer that it's good for the next 50 years or 75 years. You know, when you leave, when you get it should be exactly what you want, the right color, the right everything. Well made, that bolts together easily, and it should give you a long life without any problems.
Muffler Men today are accomplishing the same purpose as they did in the 1960s. There's something captivating about these towering giants who beckon the passing cars to choose the business with the giant over all the others.
Everybody has a different thing that it intrigues. You know, for me, I just find them fascinating that they're so unique. They're a time capsule of the past innocence, of marketing, of Americana in its heyday. And they don't do this anymore.
I don't think they make things like this anymore for signage and advertising and stuff. And so it's just something a little different, and it takes a lot of work to make those things.
I think more it's memories. You know, you connect with memories, just like the Doggy Diner head over there, the doggy going around. It just brings up good feelings, you know, from childhood.
And for me, it's Paul Bunyan, just seeing from the Paul Bunyan story and then just seeing a few of these around the state of California. It brings back good memories.
All across the country, owners of Muffler Men continue to be amazed at just how many people stop just to see the giants.
You see a lot of people stop and take pictures and stuff?
Every day there's at least two or three every day. Yep. It's amazing. They'll stop right in the middle of the road to stop and get pictures. It's been a lot of fun since we've got him. He's only been up just a little over a year. Plan to use him, as a advertising situation. We hope to find a couple. We have a sporting goods store, a couple different things to put in his hand. We do have a big flag that we use 4th of July. We're working on a gun for hunting season.
Well, we love our giant. You know, he brings us business, and on top of that, like I said, man, he helps me out with directions for my customers every time.
You know, I think they'd fit any business, honestly. Whether it's I can't imagine what business he wouldn't do good for. Yeah, it's kind of a gateway into this town too, because we're 7 miles from the interstate. And it isn't until you get right here at the high school and make this curve that you realize that you're in a town at all. And he kind of greets us. He kind of greets people into Dade City in a weird way. You know, so it works out for us. We like it.
Not only do these giants impact the businesses where they stand, but the local community benefits as well. The giants create a local landmark and become a part of the character of the town.
In the 60s and 70s and the early 80s, when International Fiberglass was going strong, they were making 50 plus a year. They probably produced over 1,000 gigantic statues that were 20 feet tall. and there's still 250 or so of them left, and they're cherished. It's not, I mean, if you take them out of community, the community throws bottles at you, and we've had this proven several times. The communities grow to love them over time. If you look at the ones that are left, I mean, Gemini Giant. If you pull Gemini Giant's statue out of the parking lot there, it's just another abandoned building on Route 66, and it looks like the one across the street and the one down the street. There's no difference at all. That Gemini Giant there, in the hour we were there was probably 60 cars stopped and looked at it. The ones that hold the giant hamburgers and the giant hot dogs, I mean, they're the local landmarks. It's worth it to them. I mean, how many people do you actually have to have stop a year extra to pay for the cost and upkeep of a giant statue? Oh, I'd love to see Muffler Men pop up everywhere. All these buildings you look at now, they're all the same. They're just square buildings made as cheap as fast as they can. Every building is the same color, the same everything as the one next to it. And Muffler Men separates you from the other people. Why be the same as, especially when you can be better?
If a Muffler Man would be a good fit for your business, community, or private collection, contact Bell Plastics today for more information. Call 510-784-1111 during normal business hours.